Hello everyone and welcome back to my kitchen. The holidays are upon us and today I wanted to share with you my easy recipe for a holiday ribeye roast with a garlic and herb spread. And this larger piece of meat can look really intimidating when it's on the shelf at the grocery store, but it's actually super easy to make, incredibly delicious and so juicy. This steak dinner is perfect for holiday dinners and parties. We're going to get started with that spread. I like to use olive oil, lots of garlic, lots of fresh herbs, and then just spread that all over your roast. You can use this recipe with a bone-in or a boneless roast like I'm using today. Get it off into the oven, roasting away. And I love to serve this with either mashed potatoes or roasted potatoes, and then use that pan sauce to kind of drizzle it over each serving. The flavors here are phenomenal and the steak turns out so incredibly juicy. For the full list of ingredients and the written instructions, head on down into that video description box and head over to my website. I'm also going to include the links for my mashed potatoes and my roasted potatoes recipes. All right, let's get started. I'm preheating my oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. That's the first thing I do when I come into my kitchen because this process of seasoning and preparing the roast takes about 20 minutes. So I like to have my oven hot and ready to go. I picked up a 4.5 pound roast at Costco. It has lots of great fat, but not too much on the top. So I'm not going to trim it off. That fat is going to add lots of great flavor while this steak is roasting. And I'm going to truss it with some kitchen twine to ensure that the roast bakes more evenly and it'll be more juicy on the inside. All right, cut off a nice piece of your butcher twine. We want to really bring this together. Some of these roasts, sometimes they can be kind of spread out, so I'm going to really bring it together here. And I'm just doing a simple knot at the top. Now, if you're using a bone-in ribeye roast, you're going to want to add the kitchen twine in between the ribs. Now I'm going to switch gears and work on my garlic and herb spread. It's super easy to put together. We're going to start with a 1/3 cup of olive oil. I'm going to pour that into a little mixing bowl. We'll need 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. Add in about a tablespoon of balsamic vinegar. About 1.5 tablespoons to 2 tablespoons of sea salt, and I love to use like larger sea salt flakes. They pierce through the skin and the fat much better. 2 teaspoons of onion powder. Lots of ground black pepper. 1.5 tablespoons of fresh thyme. Fresh rosemary. And we'll need 8 garlic cloves. I love to add lots and lots of garlic. You can either finely mince the garlic or you can use a little zester grater like this one. This will make the garlic a little bit finer. Oops. And for my final ingredient, about 1 tablespoon of Dijon mustard. And then just grab a whisk and mix this all together. Next, let's prepare our pan for roasting. You could use just about any type of casserole pan or roasting pan. I love copper, so I'm going to be using this really pretty copper pan. And I've sliced a large onion into thick slices. These are about 1/3 to 1/2 inch thick. And these are what's going to keep the roast kind of elevated above the beef broth that I'm going to add into the pan. So just grab the onions, layer them onto the bottom of the pan. Into my roasting pan, I'm also going to drop in about 8 to 10 cloves of garlic. And we're going to add some fresh herbs as well. So I have some fresh thyme, fresh rosemary. I always like to wear gloves when I'm working with meat, and especially when I'm applying this spread. So I'm just going to get the bottom really quick first. Apply that on there. We're going to apply a really nice, generous amount all over this roast. You want it really well seasoned. Oh, and it smells so incredibly delicious. Just can't wait to enjoy this. This is one of our favorites for the holiday season. Then I like to transfer this into my roasting pan so I don't lose any of that glaze. And this 4.5-pound roast was actually one of the smallest ones I could find at Costco. So if you're making a larger roast, you can make 1.5 to 2 portions of the spread. Make sure you have lots of spread. This is what's going to give it all that incredible seasoning. And the last ingredient we need is some beef broth. So I'm going to pour it into the pan until it reaches the top of my onion layers. And then I'm going to just keep adding beef broth throughout the roasting process to make sure that there's enough liquids in the pan so the garlic and the onions don't burn. You also don't want to add too much beef broth so that your roast isn't sitting in liquid. So I just kind of measure by my onion layers. My ribeye roast is ready for the oven. It's going to roast at 400 degrees Fahrenheit until it reaches an internal temperature between 125 and 130 degrees Fahrenheit. That's going to be a really nice medium doneness. It's going to be pink and super juicy on the inside. That is my personal preference, and if you want a more well done roast, just keep roasting it until it reaches 145 or 150 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm going to start this out uncovered without the foil on the top. Once it gets a really nice golden brown color, then I lay a sheet of foil on the top just to keep it from getting too dark. Now the cooking time is going to be about 1.5 hours for this 4.5-pound roast. I calculate about 20 minutes per pound of meat. And if you want it to be more well done, I would add an extra like 5, 7, 8 minutes to that. So make sure to adjust your timing depending on the size of your roast. Once it's done baking, I just take it out of the oven and let it rest anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour to allow those juices to really concentrate on the inside. With my ribeye roast resting, I'm going to pour out the remaining broth. I'm going to strain it through a cheesecloth and a fine mesh strainer, and then just let this settle for a few minutes, allowing the fat to kind of come up to the top, and then we'll cook this sauce down. We'll add about 1 tablespoon of butter into a saucepan, and once that butter is melted, I'm going to add in 1 tablespoon of flour. Mix this together and let it cook for about 1 minute or 2. You want that flour taste to be cooked out. To make the sauce, I let the pan dripping stand for a few minutes, and you can see the fat has separated. In my opinion, this is not a lot of fat, and I would just pour this whole solution into the sauce. But if you have a lot of fat, you could just grab a baster like this one and just absorb all that delicious broth from the bottom of the measuring cup and then add it into your sauce. Make sure you whisk well after each addition so you don't have any clumps. And if you don't have enough liquids in your pan after roasting, you can always replace it with more beef broth. I'm just going to let this cook for a few minutes until it's thickened up just a little bit. I prefer my sauce to be kind of in the medium consistency, so not too thick and not too thin, but you can adjust that to your liking. And once your roast is nicely rested, take the time to cut away the butcher's twine so you don't get any of that into your meat. Oh, check out the inside. It is such a beautiful color. I love that it's a little pinkish and super juicy too. And then you could cut your steak as thick or as thin as you'd like it. I usually do mine at about, I don't know, about 1/3 of an inch to 1/2 inch. And this is such a juicy steak. Check out all that juice on the inside. And I'll be serving this with some mashed potatoes today. Pour some of that gravy over the top, and this is ready to be enjoyed. And that's it for my ribeye roast recipe. This smells so incredibly delicious when it's in the oven. That garlic and herb spread is everything, and it also adds so much incredible flavor to the recipe. For all the ingredients and the printable recipe, don't forget to head on down into that video description box over to my website and check out some of the other holiday dishes that you're sure to enjoy. I'm going to dig in and get a bite of this. I love having that sauce, that gravy on the top, a little bit of mashed potatoes. This is like the ultimate holiday dinner right here. This steak is unbelievably juicy, so incredibly tender and delicious and aromatic. I love having garlic, thyme, and rosemary with steak, and adding that spread like this. Oh gosh, you guys are gonna love this dish. And that gravy adds even more flavor. I love doing like pan drippings gravy because that's where you get all that flavor. All that fat kind of drips into the beef broth as the roast cooks in the oven, and you get so much incredible flavor. You guys are gonna love this. And then I used my recipe for buttery mashed potatoes, a favorite of mine. Oh, I can't wait to make this for company. I hope you guys enjoy this incredible ribeye roast recipe during the holiday season. If you enjoyed my latest episode, please leave me a comment down below. I always love to hear from you, and I'll see you next time with a new recipe.